Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
Today, Southampton welcome West Ham here to St Mary's Stadium. Now, the Hammers are looking to make it 5 wins on the bounce in all competitions, whilst the Saints are without a win in 4 Premier League games. But of course, we are hoping that will all change this afternoon, Steve. Now, let's bring in our guests joining us for this one. We've got a stellar lineup as usual. Warm welcome back to former Saints captain Dean Hammond, and a big hello to NBC's lead soccer writer Joe Prince-Wright. Joe, good to see you. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back for you guys. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, fingers crossed for a big performance and big win today. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Dean, how's things with you? Always lovely to see you.
I'm very good, Kenzie. Very good, thank you. Been at my son's under-6 football match this morning, so there's loads of chances and a bit hectic. So yeah, looking forward to a hectic game this afternoon as well.
Well, it's great to have you joining us as well. Make sure, if you are watching in at home, to get your comments in via our social media channels. We'll try to read out as many as possible through the show. Team news is coming up in around about 15 minutes' time. Everyone seems to be fit other than long-term absentees, Romeo Lavia and Tino Livramento. Now, Dean, last time out against Man City, Ralph named a more predictable lineup than the one that lost to Everton. Are you expecting much of the same today?
In all honesty, Steve, I'm not too sure, but I hope and I think that he may go the same. Maybe a little tweak to the formation, maybe go back to the 4-2-3-1 that seems to have produced the best performances for Southampton so far this season. I think it gives a good balance between being defensively sound, but still with that flexibility in attack and the ability to create chances. I think the 2 holding midfielders kind of will work better for Southampton at the moment, just to give the back 4 a little bit more protection. It's been an area that's kind of struggled really of late, with and without the ball. And I think the formation actually suits Cole Walker-Peters better, and he's such an influential player for Southampton that he hasn't had such an impact of late. We haven't seen those forward runs, those crosses, the assists that he gets, the chances he's created. So like to see him play a little bit further forward, and I think the formation could potentially help that. And then maybe getting Joe Aribo more centrally. I think he can get lost maybe playing wide. And I think if he plays central, you know, he can use that physical attributes he has alongside Shea Adams. I think those two can combine well and cause problems. And then also you can get Adam Armstrong playing wider. And I think he's been more effective on the left-hand side with that pace and that craft and that direct approach that he has. And I think he's been more influential playing wide, creating more chances and being more of a danger to the opposition. So I think the manager may go the same. Look, there's the ability within this squad to make changes, definitely. But I think he may go the same, and get a bit of continuity, I think, within the group again. It's been a lot of changes this season in terms of personnel and formation. So I think he may go the same, and I'd like to see him go the same as well.
What about you then? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think we'll see any changes to the side that took on Manchester City last week?
Kenzie, I think the back 4 is pretty much as strong as it can get for Saints right now. I'd probably keep that the same with Walker-Peters, Perro at full-back, and then Salisu and Bella-Kotchap at centre-back. I was looking back in previous games against West Ham and what Ralph has done, and he has had some success playing that 4-1-4-1 formation in previous games against West Ham. So maybe we'll see him do something like that and have, you know, Diallo maybe as the lone holding midfielder, play James Ward-Prowse a bit further forward. And I really like what Dean said there about Joe Aribo. I think he's been a real bright spark in recent weeks. Obviously got the goal against Everton. Always seems to be that player that can pull something out of nothing when he's on the ball and just make something happen. So I'd love to see him in a more central role where he can get on the ball a lot. And then in attack, I think Shea Adams is really the only real striker that's really staked a claim to be the starter up there. But out wide, intrigued to see if Adam Armstrong goes back out to the left, if, you know, Stuart Armstrong is on the right, Al Yunusi, where does Mara slot in? There's a lot of options, I think, especially in attack, as we know. That's been an issue for Saints scoring goals so far this season. So I think that's the area of the pitch where we'll probably see a lot of changes.
Thinking back to the Man City game, Dean, did we learn anything from that match, or is it just one of those that we have to draw a blue line under it and forget about it?
I think a bit of both, to be honest, Steve. I think what we learned from that game, Bazunu would probably give his best performance in a Southampton shirt. I thought he looked commanding. It's the most confidence I've seen him play. He pulled off some very, very good saves. His reactions and his decision making was very, very good. I know he conceded 4 goals, but it could have been a lot worse. And I thought his individual performance was good. But in terms of Southampton, of course, you can always learn something from a game. And I think when you play the very best, and Man City are the very best at the moment, decision making is so important, whether that's individually or collectively, whether you're pressing, is it the right time for me to press? Do I need to hold my shape? Because Man City are so good that if you make the slightest of error, they will pick you apart and create chances and score goals like they did. And I think also with Southampton, just maybe that little bit more belief, actually, when they had the ball, to be a little bit calmer in possession. They had a little bit more time on the ball than maybe they realised. But that, again, that's difficult. When you're chasing the ball for 90 minutes, you do get fatigued, you do get tired. So I'm sure they've looked at the game. I'm sure they've analysed the game, and there'll be little bits that they'll look to improve upon. But what you can take from is you can realisation and an acceptance that you've played the very best. And it's something to inspire to as a player. What could I do more? What did they do that I can't do? How can I improve? And I think they're the little bit of details that you can try and take from those games, not try and take it too personally or too harshly that it affects your confidence going into the next game. Just more of an acceptance that you've played the best, move on, put it behind you, and how can I use that to improve myself during the season?
Joe, Dean was praising Gavin Bazunu there. He may still be searching for his first clean sheet here at Saints, but he certainly did make some impressive saves last weekend. What did you make of his performance against Manchester City and indeed his time with Southampton as a whole?
Well, Kenzie, I think against City, he really didn't put a foot wrong. And obviously for him going back to City, the club where he's been for the last few years of his development, was a big day for him. And he really stood tall. Really solid, good saves, as we're seeing. Good with the ball at his feet. And just don't think he could really do anything with the goals that he conceded. It was just quality on Man City's part. But I think he looks like he's getting more and more comfortable after each 90 minutes so far this season. At the start against Tottenham, there were a few nervy clearances, etc. But I think that's to be expected, right? He's the youngest goalkeeper in the Premier League. And as we all know, goalkeepers like to tell everyone they don't peak until they're in their early to mid-30s. So, I just think that he looks now very settled. He's keen to come off his line, which we're seeing here, which I really like. And it kind of just gives the whole Saints defence that chance when they do want to high press. They can do that with the knowledge that a goalkeeper's sweeping up behind them. And we know that Ralph always wanted the goalkeeper to be like that. He now has that goalkeeper in Bazunu. And I think the next step for him now is just being a bit more dominant when he's coming for crosses. I mean, we saw a few times in this game him coming out, and I think that just comes with age and experience. And he's a big, strong goalkeeper, really good with the ball at his feet. And like I said, he fits into this mold that Saints want of a sweeper keeper. So he's only going to keep getting better, which is the good thing. And he's had a really, really solid start. And now he just wants that clean sheet.
Well, the last time Southampton met West Ham, it was in the FA Cup last season, and the Saints came out on top.
The checks were ready to go. 7:30 at St Mary's on a Wednesday night. And Bowen's in behind and Stevens won't get there. Bowen just beaten to it. He got there, Bowen, came off his chest. Walker-Peters turns away from the attentions of Bowen. Squares it across the West Ham half to Perro. This time he's going to hit it! Oh my goodness me! Last time he played, he smashed a crossbar. This time, he has smashed a beauty from outside the box on the angle. Armstrong showed good feet. West Ham have to clear their lines. Poor clearance. Ward-Prowse will look up and he puts it wide by a yard. Left-footed, takes the corner. Under the crossbar again. Caballero lets it bounce down and it's gone in and there's no flag. And West Ham have equalised. And what was Willie Caballero doing? Brozier's done well to get inside Dawson. This is a massive chance. And Dawson got back and he made a very good challenge. Brozier thinks he was tugged back, waiting to see what Andre Morena thinks. He's had a look, he's showing the screen. Here he comes, right-footed. That's why. forward ball to Redmond's going to come up a goal. Redmond's going to hit it. Oh, and Areola tips it behind for a corner. Good work from Adam Armstrong. Held off Dawson, gets it to Brozier in the box. He's going to finish it. Oh, he has finished it. Armando Brozier sends Southampton into the quarter-finals of the FA Cup.
Dean, let's come to you first for your memories on that game, because it turned out to be a really fantastic win.
Yeah, it was a stage of the season where Southampton were in fantastic form, Kenzie, in the league in particular. I just remember the game for, one, the amount of changes that the manager made, really rotated the squad and used the squad. That goal from Pero there, which was an unbelievable strike, fantastic strike. You know, you never hit a ball cleaner than that. And then the impact of the substitutions, really, when Brozier came onto the pitch, Stuart Armstrong came onto the pitch, they made a huge difference. As we'll see, you know, Brozier here goes through, you think he's going to shoot once or twice, but uses his body very, very well, very, very clever. And he did that against West Ham, actually, in all three appearances last year. Caused them real trouble, was a real thorn in their side, actually, last season. But yeah, it was a brilliant cup game. Caballero there comes on, uses the experience. Well, it doesn't come, starts the game, uses the experience, makes a really, really good save in it, an important stage. And then Brozier's skill towards the end here. This was him at his best. You know, his balance, his body movement, really direct, and a fantastic finish. And a really, really, really good result for Southampton on the night. An enjoyable fixture. And like I say, they were going well in the league, in a really strong and healthy position in the Premier League, and then through to I think the quarterfinals, maybe to Man City after that game. And then after that, for whatever reason, the form seemed to dip after that. But I just remember the manager using the squad, rotating the squad. The players that came in performed really, really well. Jack Stevens, Valerie, Smallbone, all had really good performances. But then manipulated the rules of the FA Cup and made a couple of substitutes at half time, and then a couple of substitutes later on. And so really good management there from Ralph, and a great result for Southampton.
Joe, I'm trying to think of French superlatives to describe Pero's opening goal, and I can just come up with magnifique. How good a strike was that?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, Steve, as well, mate. So you beat me to it. Yeah, just incredible, right? I mean, he came close with a lot of these strikes last season. I was thinking at Man United and Tottenham, he had some belters from outside the box where it hit the woodwork or just went over. But this is, like Dean said, one of the purest strikes you'll ever see. I mean, this angle here behind the goal, the movement, the swerve, straight into the top corner. Yeah, and I'd love to see him in more of these attacking positions more often. I think, you know, he's pretty solid defensively, works so hard. The fans really love his work rate. But what we don't see enough of from Perraud, probably not his own fault, but down that left-hand side, Saints' attackers really like to bunch up and kind of move over. So he's always kind of just been the guy who's providing balance defensively down that side. But I think we've seen it a bit this season as well, a bit more of a license to get forward in these different formations. So, yeah, hopefully we see a lot more strikes like this, because the more you see it, the more magnifique it is, Steve.
Indeed, that's a perfect way to describe it. Now, it was, of course, a less memorable game when West Ham visited St Mary's in the league. But, Dean, would Saints have been happy to take a point from a side that were unbeaten so far that season?
Yeah, I think so, Kenzie. I think West Ham, like you say, were unbeaten. Very strong team, physically strong, very well organised. Southampton were coming off back-to-back draws, I think, against Manchester United and Newcastle. So an important point, and probably Southampton's just starting to try and find their rhythm. I think the manager was still playing with the formation to try and find that balance, that perfect balance between attack and defence. I think we did the show live in terms of Saints Live, so remember the atmosphere was very good at St Mary's, and the game didn't really come to life until probably the last 20 minutes. And again, it was the introduction of Brozier. I remember when he came off the bench, he got in a one-on-one situation against a West Ham defender and just knocked it past him and went. We're seeing another opportunity here, a moment when he's one-on-one, he comes on, he hits the post. And, you know, we hadn't seen much of him until that day. And he came on and made a real impression. And the fans after the game, I remember being really excited. Again there with a header, I believe it's his header, that didn't quite go in. So like I say, the last 20 minutes the game came alive. Antonio getting
Dean,
sent.
I am so sorry. I am going to have to interrupt you. I do apologise. It always seems to happen to you, but the team news is hot off the press and we have to reveal it now. We've got the lineup for Southampton, who'll be facing West Ham at St Mary's today. It seems like the same back four. So we've got Gavin Bazunu in goal, then Carl Walker-Peters, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Mo Salisu and Roman Perro in defence. Then we have Ainsley Maitland-Niles coming back into the side. He's partnering James Ward-Prowse, our captain, in the middle of the field. Joe Aribo retains his place, but Moy Elyounoussi comes back in, and then leading the line, it seems like it's going to be Adam Armstrong and Shay Adams. As for the Southampton substitutes today, we've got Alex McCarthy, Lianco, Shaletta Sarr, Juan Larios, Diallo, Musa Gineppo, Stuart Armstrong, Sam Adozi and Sekou Mara there as well to complete the substitutes bench. Now, Dean, as I so rudely interrupted you, we'll come back to you first. What do you make of that lineup for Southampton today?
Well, interesting, Steve. Probably a lot about what we spoke about, really. It'd be interesting to see whether Southampton go a 4-2-3-1 or they actually go a 4-2-2-2 formation. And like you say, you mentioned there, will Joe Aribo play centrally alongside Shay Adams, maybe just off him, maybe in a kind of a number 10 role? And will Adam Armstrong play wide or will he play up front? I think they're the main two talking points. Elyounoussi come back in the team, and I think that's good. He's so industrious. He works so hard for the team. He brings so much to the group. And actually, I think when he plays, Carl Walker-Peters has a little bit more license down that right-hand side because Elyounoussi likes to drift inside and likes to make those runs into the box and becomes an additional goal threat for Southampton. And we haven't scored many goals of late, so sensible decision there. And I think it's important that we get Carl Walker-Peters more involved in the game, that he has more possession of the ball, because when he does, he makes things happen. So interesting to see what the formation is and what the approach is. Nathan Niles coming in again. He's a good player, he's a good talent, and hopefully he can give that a little bit more protection in front of the back four, and him and James Ward-Prowse can be that discipline too of just protecting the back four, and then that allows the other four to go and play, be creative, use the ability they have and try and score some goals for Southampton today.
Joe, what do you make of the lineup Ralph selected?
Kenzie, I think I'd like to see a slightly different formation, like I mentioned before, maybe the 4-1-4-1 with Maitland-Niles as the holder, Elyounoussi or Aribo inside with Ward-Prowse centrally. And I think Adam Armstrong, some of his best performances this season have actually been off the left wing. So I think maybe that would suit him better. But again, West Ham looks like they're going to line up with three at the back. They've got a lot of defensive injuries. So if Saints do only go with one up top, it would be a really tough task for Shay Adams there. So maybe they will go with two, Adam Armstrong just off him to kind of, I don't know, just get in and amongst those back three and cause a little bit unrest in a very changed West Ham side defensively. So yeah, I think it makes sense to go with that back four. That's, when Tino comes in, there'll be a discussion about who's going to start at right back and whether Walker-Peters goes to left back. But I think that's pretty much as strong as it gets. And then going forward at the moment, I think there needs to be changes. It's right for Ralph to mix things up. And just excited to see what the formation is, because it could go 3 or 4 different ways with this one.
Indeed. Well, before we move on, we'll get some comments from the fans watching at home. Various coming in over our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter and on YouTube as well. We've got Kevin KV who said fingers crossed for a home win, and loads of fingers crossed emojis as well. Jay Polford says nothing less than 3 points today. Jamie Clark on Facebook says he's on his way. Well, you still got around about an hour to go until kickoff, so plenty of time to make it down to St Mary's there, Jamie. Also on YouTube we have Josh Jocelyn who said up the Reds. He reckons it'll be a cheeky 2-1 win today. Peter on YouTube also says all about the result. A scrappy 1-0 win would be awesome. Moses McSimon, what a name. He says he's hoping for a win today. Much love from Kenya. And then A last one here from Rosemary Rickett, who said, a big game today. My brother is a huge West Ham fan, and I'll have a burning ear if we lose. So it's got to be a win. Come on, you Saints.
Oh, fingers crossed, Rosemary. Great to hear from the fans, as always. But now, one of my favourite parts of the show. It's time for the Wheel of Goals. Always enjoy this one. We're going to look back at 5 goals we've scored previously against West Ham. There you go. There's our wheel. So let's give it a little spin, shall we? Here it goes. Who's going to be up first? Some good ones on there, Steve, today.
There are indeed. We're going to start with Manolo Gabbiadini. He got his first goal for Southampton just 12 minutes into his debut with this one. What do you remember about this one, Joe, and also the start he had to his life in a Saints shirt?
Oh, yeah, Steve. I mean, what a start. I remember so much excitement when he first arrived. Obviously, did big things in Italian football, and this was the kind of player that Saints really needed at that time with the squad they had. They didn't have that clinical finisher. I think I remember Charlie Austin being injured around that time as well, so they were really light up front. But Gabbiadini, I mean, talk about coming straight in and just the fans adored him right away with a finish like this. Took everyone by surprise, just hammered it home at the near post there. And yeah, I mean, my main memory of him is obviously the goal at Swansea away was excellent and absolutely crucial. But going to the League Cup final, seeing him score those 2 goals, it was 3 really, but we won't go into that right now. But when he scored that second goal to make it 2-2 against Man United, as a Saints fan, I was in the press box working for NBC that day, and I'm telling you, it took every ounce of restraint in my body not to jump up in the press box. I kept my cool as much as I could. And that was one of my favourite memories. I know they went on to lose the game, but for that 20-30 minute period when the fans were singing Gabbiadini's name, scored 2 great goals. I mean, what a great just finisher he is, right? And he's someone I always look at to see how he's doing wherever he's been playing since. And a proper striker, Steve.
Yeah, it was a great goal, and plenty more where that came from, because we've got another spin on the wheel to go now. Should we do it, Kenzie?
Yeah, let's do it. There you go. All right, who's up next? Ooh, oh, okay. Looks like it's landed on Adam Lallana. This one was away at West Ham in 2013. Dean, a goal of real quality, this one.
Yeah, and obviously Adam had that quality. I was actually having a conversation with a former Southampton coach the other day about Adam, and we were talking about probably one of the best players we've ever seen, the way he receives the ball. And you can see that in this move, that his movement, he kind of drifts into the box, takes it on his left foot and swivels straight away and hits it with his right. And the biggest compliment you can give Adam, I think, in this moment or any moment, is he makes it look so easy. It looks so fluent, the way he controls it and then just turns his body. But it's a good goal from Southampton on the day. I think they were 2-0 down at the time. This got them back into the game as well. But Adam was kind of playing in that central role at that time for Southampton, and that run from deep, he's very, very clever and such an intelligent footballer. Love playing with him, and that was just another example of his quality. A fantastic finish and made it look very easy, but I can assure you personally, I've put a lot over at the bar from that distance. Don't worry about that.
Right, should we get another spin? Some more to get through, so let's have the wheel up again and let's give it a spin.
Where's it going to go this time, Steve?
Oh, we've landed on Gaston Ramirez. He scored in a 1-1 draw against West Ham that same season, Joe. What do you remember about him as a Saint?
Steve, I think he kind of has cult hero status. I mean, he had so much quality, delivered some amazing goals and assists, but he never quite found that right position in the Saints team. He had some quality players like Lallana we're seeing kind of ahead of him there. But yeah, he always just... You knew when he was on the pitch there was a possibility he could score a goal like this. I mean, great finish, great run. And whenever he seemed to score, they were beauties as well. So personally, as a Saints fan, I really liked him. Loved seeing his name on the team sheet. And I remember after he'd left the club, I went to Sparta Prague away in the Europa League. And in an Irish pub at like 1 a.m, everyone started singing Gaston Ramirez's name. There was hundreds of Saints fans in there. And again, I think that just kind of sums up, there was a fondness towards him. The way he played the game, he was entertaining, and just a bit sad he didn't get a run in the team or any consistency, and he had a few injuries as well. But great talent, great goal, and great song as well.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see what other talent awaits us in our Wheel of Goals. Who's up next? We've had 3 great goals already, 2 more to go. Oh, and it's landed on Dusan Tadic this time. Another away goal at West Ham. This one was in 2016. Dean, it's another impressive finish on our Wheel of Goals.
Yeah, it is, Kenzie. I mean, I absolutely love this goal, just because of his body shape and the way he lets the ball run across his body and fools the goalkeeper. But actually, the move beforehand is just what you love from Southampton and what you want from Southampton. You know, pressing, winning the ball back, and then 1 and 2 touch football. Some excellent passes here. Comes in, and I think it's Charlie Austin with the actual pass, and then Tadic looks like he's going to take it with his right, just lets it roll across his body. It's brilliant play, and again, what a fantastic player. Technically was brilliant, and just so calm and composed in that situation. And the best players always are. They don't panic. They know exactly what they're going to do. Their awareness of the opposition around them is always spot on, and he would have sensed the goalkeeper would have come in flying out to make a decision to try and win that ball, and he just slowly lets it run across his body and just taps it into the open net. So absolutely quality finish, and love seeing that. Great move, great finish.
And do a wheel of assists to be able to get Charlie's one in there.
Maybe we can.
Maybe in the future we'll feed it to the management. Right, I think we've got time for one more spin on our Wheel of Goals. Let's see who it's going to land on.
No prizes for guessing, really. We've only got one left.
And it's Maya Yoshida at home to West Ham. He just had a knack of popping up, Joe, didn't he, with goals like these from this position?
He really did. And sometimes you wonder, what on earth is he doing in a position like this as a centre-back? But he just, like you said, Steve, drifted up into areas, hung around from set-piece situations. And, I mean, everyone loves a Yoshida knee slide celebration. Look at that. And some really brave finishes, I think, over the years. He'd always kind of throw himself in acrobatically, always attack the ball really well. And, wasn't the tallest centre-back that Saints have ever had, but he was really good in the air, really good at timing his runs. And as we're seeing here, another really good team move down the right. A little bit fortunate to sneak through there, but then Yoshida pops up and, lovely finish. So hopefully some of Saints' other players and centre-backs can take note and do something similar today.
Well, whilst we love looking back at previous goals we've scored against West Ham, we should turn our attention to today. Kick-off, of course, at 2 p.m. against the Hammers. So, Dean, let's come to you first to get your final thoughts ahead of the game.
I think it's going to be a tough game again, like any Premier League is, but West Ham are in good form. Like I think you mentioned, Kenzie, they're 5 wins in a row in all competitions. They've won their last 2 in the Premier League back-to-back, which has been coming, really. They're a good team, but Joe also mentioned it, defensively, they look like they've got a few problems. So I'd love to see Southampton be on the front foot and take the game to West Ham and ask some questions early on and test that uncertainty at the back for West Ham. So I think, again, I always say it's all about Southampton, about the way they play and the energy they play with. If they play with that energy and that freedom and that belief, then they can beat anyone. I really believe that, especially at St Mary's. So I think it's going to be a tight game today. I really do. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 Southampton win.
Okay, 2-1. All right, Joe. Well, what do you have to say to that, and how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I think it's important to get a good start. I think with the recent run of results for Saints, there needs to be some positivity from the start. The fans are sticking with the team, obviously young players, and this is pivotal right now, I think, today, Kenzie, how they start this first game. We've seen some really good performances from this young team, like Dean said, where they've been high pressing and really high energy. Love to see that today. So I think the lineup kind of suggests they're going to do that from the very start and be more attack-minded and get at West Ham. But I just want to see Saints sustain a performance. We've seen, even the wins against Chelsea and Leicester, great performances. Leicester good for the second half, and then performances against Wolves and even Manchester United, pretty promising for the most part, but didn't get the results. So I'd like to see a bit of luck on Saints' side. I think they've been short of that this season so far, been really close in some of these tight games. And I think if they get an early goal, hopefully it will give this young team a lot of confidence, get the fans going and create a great atmosphere at St Mary's. So I'm also going to go for a Saints win. I'm going to go for 2-0. I think the West Ham right now, some defensive injuries, and it might be a good time to play them with this Thursday, Sunday grind with the Europa Conference League they're in. I think it's quite a lot to ask of them. They don't have the biggest squad still and a lot of defensive injuries. So, yeah, Saints start well, and I think it will end well for them today.
Good stuff. Well, 2-0 and a 2-1 prediction there. Joe and Dean, thank you so much again for joining us on Saints Live this afternoon. Not long to go until kick-off. Southampton looking for their first points in the Premier League since August, while a win for West Ham will put them into the top half of the table. We'll be watching the action right here from St Mary's, but don't forget to join us after the match on the final whistle, where we'll get Joe and Dean's reaction and analysis. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.